Introduce myself. My name is Bill Pittman. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Petro Group for Sound Payments. First, I wanted to thank everybody for attending. Appreciate your attending here. Wanted to let you know is that we put this presentation together kind of to make it educational, to let you know about some of your options going forward. And really it's to support the mandate that's coming up in April. I think most of you know that come April, there's going to be a liability shift where the station itself will be liable if there's a chargeback. So if what that means that is if you don't support EMV and the customer uses a magstripe card that's fraudulent, then the liability will ultimately come back to the station owner. So they'll end up losing the chargeback and having to make that, cover it themselves with their money out of their bank. This happened years ago in the retail industry. And what happened was a lot of people said, oh, well, I don't have a whole lot of chargebacks, so I don't need to worry about that. But then the fraudsters are out there and they identify people that weren't supporting EMV, made fraudulent cards, and then went and used them. And then when the true card holder got the bill, they charged it back. And virtually every time, if you don't support EMV, you're going to lose that chargeback. So it's something that you need to be very cognizant of, especially in the petro industry where you've got a big SUV or something that pulls in there. You're going to have an expensive gas bill that you're going to have to be responsible for. So we wanted to let you know some of the options that you've got in order to upgrade your pumps to support EMV. So first of all, just wanted to give you a little bit about who we are. We're Sound Payments. We've been around about 5-6 years or so. We've been in a couple of different industries. Previously, we were in retail. Then we've got a banking solution, and then we've got the Petro solution. The Petro solution, we've been working on the technology for over 3 years. It's taken us a while to build everything, and you'll see that we've kind of taken a different approach at building the solution. And we've been selling the solution now for over a year. This solution, we've got hundreds of stations out there already using it, and we'll show you some examples, and we've got thousands of devices already out there. And so it's a proven solution that's ready to be implemented right away if you guys are looking to upgrade your EMV, because April's not that far away. So I advise you to move, if you haven't already started moving, haven't made your plans, to try to move forward as soon as possible. So that's our technology, and I'll go over some of that with you. You'll find it a very competitively priced solution, and it supports both the hardware and software supporting services associated with it. And then we've also partnered with leading distributors and resellers and installers of the petroleum industry to be able to implement the solution as well as to resell it. We tend to work through resellers rather than stations directly. Depending on the situation, we can work with stations directly, but for the most part, we work through distributors and resellers. So as I mentioned, we've got this mandate coming up, and you've got a couple of different options that you can do in order to support this mandate. One of the things that most of the pump manufacturers will want you to do is buy a brand new pump. And we'll talk about the advantages and disadvantages of that. But they'd rather sell you a brand new pump than anything else. You've also got some of the manufacturers for some of their newer pumps also have their own retrofit kits. And we'll talk about that a little bit. You'll tend to find them more expensive because they really, at the end of the day, want to sell you a new pump, but they don't want to appear like they're gouging you too much. If you just bought a pump last year, they'll offer a retrofit kit typically that'll allow you to upgrade that pump. So that's another option, depending on how new your pumps are. The other option is you could buy a brand new pump that doesn't support EMV and put in an EMV retrofit kit. You'll find that if you do this, a pump that doesn't support EMV is much less expensive than a pump that does support EMV. And then the cost of the retrofit kit will be substantially less than if you had bought a brand new pump with EMV. So that's another option you've got. You can also buy a used pump. And so what's happened is a lot of these people are putting in new pumps because some of them didn't know they had options, or they were mandated by their brands to go ahead and do that. And so there's a bunch of used pumps that are out there that now could be upgraded. And you'll find that an even more cost-effective solution, because now you're buying a used pump. If you're starting up a brand new station, you don't want to buy new pumps, you can buy a used pump and upgrade it with a retrofit kit. So that's another option. And then the last option, which I'm going to spend most of my time talking about, is if you take your existing pumps and just put in a third-party retrofit kit and upgrade them to support EMV. So those are kind of your options that are out there. And I'm going to spend most of my time talking about the third-party retrofit kit because that's what we do. There's other companies that do it as well. And so that's an option you should consider, especially if you're trying to keep your costs down as low as possible. I kind of sympathize with a lot of you stations that are out there. You're kind of, the card associations are making you spend all this money to upgrade your pumps to support EMV kind of for their own protection. And so if you're trying to look at ways to reduce some of those costs, that's what we're here for, and that's what we've designed this product for. So how can you upgrade your pump at a lower price? First of all, you're going to find out that an upgrade kit is going to be a fraction of the cost of a brand new pump. You're going to find also a third-party upgrade kit is you're going to find up to 1/2 to 1/3 the cost of some of the upgrade options that you'll get from the pump manufacturers. And then the other thing that the third parties have done is we built our solution to integrate with all the major pumps that are out there, so that if you've got an existing pump, you can more than likely upgrade it without any issues. And then our upgrade option is, you'll see that it's kind of unique, and I'll go into some of the details on that, but it supports EMV, obviously. It supports MagStripe, supports contactless, so you can do your Apple Pays and that kind of stuff. It also supports PIN on glass, so that you can do debit at the pump as well. So it supports all the latest payment methods that you would want to do. An upgrade option also simplifies the implementation associated with upgrade and conversion. And I'll talk about that in a little bit when you compare an upgrade option compared to putting in new pumps, for example. The other thing is the device that lives in the pump itself is a payment terminal. So it's PCI certified by the card associations. And what that means is that if anybody ever tries to tamper with it, it'll brick and stop working. So it's PCI certified. It also supports something known as end-to-end encryption, so that the minute that the card data is entered, it gets encrypted. And so as it flows through the rest of the transaction process, it's encrypted in a format that no one can really use without the keys, which they don't have access to. So most of the solutions that are out there don't do this end-to-end encryption. So that's something else to be aware of from a security perspective. We also use Wi-Fi for the communication mechanism between the different components in the station, as well as going out to the payment processor. The reason why that's important is you don't have to tear up any concrete and lay new cables or anything like that to make it work. So you can just configure the Wi-Fi, and since the data is encrypted, it's secure as it goes through that transaction. The other thing associated with payments is that you've got to do these certifications with the different payment processors that are out there. And those certifications are dependent upon your configuration. Since if you change one of those components in a typical full integration, you have to redo a certification. And the certifications can take months, if not almost a year. So you want to do anything you can to avoid having to do certifications. With our approach, because the device itself that lives in the pump is a payment terminal, it's going directly to the payment processor. And so there are no other dependencies associated with it with regards to payments. So that that need to recertify if something changes, you change your forecourt or something like that, you don't have to redo a certification because it's never going through that from a payment perspective. So those are some of the benefits that I'm going to talk about associated with upgrading your station. So looking at this, some of the challenges and some of the benefits associated with our solution. Well, the challenges are, if you're upgrading with new equipment, it's going to be much more expensive. So the equipment itself is going to be expensive. The implementation is going to be expensive. You're going to have to shut down your station. You may have to get new equipment and tanks and upgrade it to the latest codes and regulations. So you're opening up really a can of worms by upgrading your station with brand new pumps. And then during the implementation, which can take a month or longer, you're going to lose revenue because the station's going to be closed. And once a person gets used to, people are creatures of habit, and once they get used to going to your station for fuel, and then it's down for a month, they start going somewhere else, they may not come back. So it could be permanent loss of revenue, not just temporary. So you're going to lose that money as well. And then the other thing that you'll find is once you put the new equipment in, for some reason, if it doesn't work, you don't like it, your customers don't like it, etc., you can't easily roll back and start all over again. It's like an all or nothing deal to put in new pumps. So those are some of the challenges you have when you're looking at adding a new pump to your station. With our solution, and third parties retrofit kit solutions in general, they allow you to upgrade your existing equipment. You can use your existing point of sale software, so you don't have to change your point of sale software that you're using in the station and the convenience store. It takes hours to upgrade versus weeks or months, depending on what type. If you're putting in brand new pumps, it could take months or longer to do an upgrade. So you don't have those with a retrofit kit solution, because you're just doing it pump by pump. So it allows you to phase in the implementation on a pump by pump basis. So you could actually put in one pump, test it out, make sure you're happy with it, and then upgrade the other pumps. You don't have to shut the station down. You're only shutting that one pump down. And it typically takes anywhere from a half hour to an hour to do a pump. So let's say it's about a half hour per side. So it'd take an hour to do both sides of the pump. And so that's just one pump. All the others are still working as they did previously. That's just one pump that's down for an hour. And as you go through, depending on the number of pumps you got, you can calculate how long you'll be down. And like I said, it's only going to be one pump at a time. The other thing is, because the security that I talked about earlier, it really reduces your PCI security scope within your station, because you don't have data flowing through your stations that's non-encrypted. With ours, the sensitive data is encrypted, as I said, right at the time that the card information is entered. And so it's as secure as it gets with this end-to-end encryption. So just to kind of talk about some of these benefits in how things happen today. So if you look at how payments are typically done today, and most of the people that have created EMV upgrades are following the same path that they've historically done. You'll see that we looked at this from a completely different perspective and created really a unique solution. So what people do today, and they're doing it with their EMV upgrades, is the device that's at the pump is actually just getting the cardholder data. And it typically sends that cardholder data, it could be unencrypted even, sending it to a forecourt controller. That controller has a payment app on it, which then takes that data, builds the appropriate message and sends it off to the processor to get authorized, and then later on in the transaction to get completed. So you've got this data flowing through your station. So it creates a security risk associated with it. You'll see with our solution, we don't do it this way. So we don't have that as an issue. Same thing happens on the other side for the in-store point of sale, is it sends the data to the forecourt controller. Once again, it could be unencrypted because it's just gathering the cardholder data. It's the payment app that's on the forecourt controller that's creating the message that it's sending off to the processor. Some of the challenge, some of the issues associated with this is you've got sensitive data now flowing through your station, brings up the PCI security issues. You've got single points of failure here where the forecourt goes down. And then if any of these components change, you have to redo the certification that I talked about. So once you kind of implement this, you're kind of stuck with it. And if you make changes, you've got to get new payment software that's been certified with the components that you changed. So that's how it happens today. And like I said, that's how most of the people that have upgraded to EMV are proposing the same kind of architecture. So what we've done that's completely different is we looked at this really not from being in the petroleum industry for that many years. We said, hey, if we came from the payment background, we said, hey, if we could rebuild this all over again, how would we do it differently? And this is what we came up with. So first of all, on the left-hand side here, where the pump is, the device that lives in the pump is a payment terminal. So it's going to now talk through Wi-Fi directly to the payment processor to get processed. So it'll get the approval. And then once it gets the approval, it then comes back and then sends the approval request to a device that I'll talk about later called the bridge. What the bridge does is the bridge talks to many forecourt controllers. And so the pump will then send a message to the bridge that says, hey, pump one just got authorized for $100, turn it on. So then the forecourt controller will go talk to the pump, turn the pump on. They'll start fueling. Once the transaction gets complete, the forecourt will get how much, say it was authorized for $100 and they pumped $40. So it'll then bring that information back to the bridge, which will then bring it back to the payment terminal. And then the payment terminal will talk directly to the payment processor and complete that transaction for the $40 that was pumped. So it's a completely different approach to this. And we've also got the in-store point of sale systems that we work with that support this approach as well. And so you can both have our solution running side by side with an existing point of sale solution, or you can work with a point of sale solution that's completely integrated into ours so you can get consolidated reports and reconciliation. So that's kind of our approach on how we've done this. And as you can see, it's much different than the traditional way people have done this, and it's got a lot of benefits that I'll be talking about more about in a second here. So now some of the benefits here is the PCI data does not go through the in-store at all anymore because it's encrypted at that point, so it's useless if anybody got a hold of it. And that device itself is PCI certified, so if anybody tampers with it, it'll brick and stop working, just like a regular payment terminal on your countertop. So it's a much more secure solution. The EMV certification is encapsulated into the device itself, so that, as I mentioned, if things change, you don't have to worry about redoing certifications because it's all encapsulated. We go directly to the payment processor from the terminal, and each payment terminal does this independently. So it eliminates that single point of failure if the payment app stops working on the forecourt, for example. That direct connection eliminates that single point of failure. And also we don't use any gateways or anything like that, which can be a middleman that create other other points of failure, as well as could drive up costs with being a middle component in the middle. We give you all the kind of reporting and archiving of data. We've got APIs that you can get that information from so that you can integrate it, or we have a portal where you can go online and get that information as well. This approach also, because everything's kind of independent, it allows you to add enhancements without the recertification, and enhancements to the solution itself down the road as we come out with more and more value-added services. And then with the bridge solution, we have the ability to work with the major forecourt controllers that are out there. So we give you a solution that'll work with with the major pumps that are out there, with the major forecourt controllers that are out there, et cetera. So most of your stations can implement this solution without any issues. So things to consider as you're thinking of those different options that I started about at the beginning. Some of your prices, what's going to the cost of the equipment going to be, construction cost, any downtime that you have when you're doing the install. Do you need to replace your existing in-store point of sale system to work with this EMV upgrade? Or do you have to make changes to it, retrain employees and those kind of things? So that's something to consider about a little bit about the cost. Then on the system benefits, you can work with your existing equipment and your existing software, so you don't have to upgrade that. So you're not really changing people's behavior that much. It's a much more secure solution because it reduces the PCI scope that you have. And then there's no need to make changes with your tanks and equipment and code or anything like that as well, because you're using everything that you've already got. Some of the benefits associated with installation is this approach allows you to do pump by pump, and maybe takes an hour a pump versus weeks or months if you're doing other implementations. You can phase this in by individual pump, and you can also phase in the changes over time. So it gives you a bunch of installation benefits where you're not shutting down the station, and you're able to kind of test it beforehand. You want to make sure everything works and that you like it and your customers like it, and then you can upgrade your complete station if you want, or you can just go and upgrade your station and just do one pump at a time, and only take that one pump down for that hour in order to do the upgrade. So those are some of the benefits there to consider. So the device that we're using that lives in the pump, like I said, it's this solution here. It's called an IM20, and it's made by a hardware company called PAX. We've got kind of a special deal with them on reselling this, and we've spent, like I said, years building the software solution in order to make it work. It is a complete payment terminal, like I said. It's certified with the major payment processors in the petroleum industry. It's designed to be outside, so it's very weather resistant. So it can withstand some of the harshest weather conditions. It supports all of the payment stuff that we talked about, meaning mag card reader, smart card reader, contactless, those kind of things. So it can support all your Apple Pays and those stuff. It supports Wi-Fi as a communication method, or Bluetooth. It's got the ability to, it really only has two connections to it. One of them is to get power, and then the other one is for the printer. So it can work with most of your existing printers that are out there, or if you wanted to upgrade it with a new printer, you can do that. We also have a kit. So you can, I'll go through and show you a couple of different ways that you can upgrade your pumps to support this. One of them is with a kit. Kit comes with a printer and everything, and you basically just replace the panel and stick it on there and plug it in, and it works. So there's a couple of different ways depending on how much time you want to spend configuring and getting this into your pump. And I'll show you the different outputs from that, so you can make that decision. It also supports the pin on glass, so that if you, so the screen itself is a keypad, so that when you want to enter things like a phone number or a zip code, you do that right on the screen. And then the other thing that it does is that if you got a debit card and you need to do enter your PIN, it supports PIN on glass. So it's a secure way of entering your PIN without having to have a keyboard there or keypad there. So that's, you know, some of the stuff that makes it a much lower cost solution, is because you don't have all these other different peripherals connected to it to make it work. It's all in one encapsulated unit. Heck, it even has a camera on it, so that if you wanted to video record stuff from it, you can as well. So that's the device. And then I mentioned our bridge, and I showed you that picture of the bridge. What the bridge does is it talks to the different forecourt controllers that are out there. So it's kind of a one-to-many. So that's how we can work with different forecourt controllers, is the bridge has the logic in there associated to say, oh, this is this forecourt, I'm going to, you know, talk to it this way. So it does that. We put it on a payment terminal. So this is an Android-based payment terminal. So the payment terminal can be like a backup. It can do, you know, reprinting of receipts and do different things that a payment terminal does. But it also is managed from the same system, the terminal management system that is used to control the devices that are in the pump. And so what we've tried to do is make it as easy as possible. So you can go to one terminal management system and manage your devices. Either you can do it, or the reseller can do it, or we can do it. And so by having just one place that you can go in and you can update the applications that are on the device, you can check and look at them. You can, you know, look at some of the logs and things like that, all from one terminal management system, so that as things change, you can make those changes. The other thing that we support with this is something called remote key injection, so that if you've got debit or anything where you need a key in there for the encryption, you can go ahead and inject that key in remotely. So that also gives you the ability to manage these devices completely. So one thing is let's say you're a reseller of this and you have a couple of these sitting in your truck, and the station calls up and says, hey, one of them stopped working for whatever reason. The guy can take this blank device off his truck, go in and configure it. All you got to do is really give it its serial number and the previous information that the last terminal had. So configure it remotely, and then go and install it onto the pump, and then it'll start working. And you can inject any keys that you need to. You can download the applications that you need to. You can do all of that remotely now. So it really provides an easy way to do an upgrade right away without having to send stuff around or do anything like that. So that's the reason why we went ahead and put it on a payment device. It gives you, like I said, the backup in the same terminal management system that you have for the devices that are in the pump. So here's just some examples of some of the pumps that we've worked with. You can, if you look at these devices if you look at these pumps that are out there, you can see our device. It's the device with the screen. So these are some pumps that we've done installs with over time here, and you can see how it looks with our device in it. I'm going to kind of walk through a little bit here. So there's a couple of different ways that you can upgrade the pump. One of them is, I mentioned you could buy a kit, and we have a company that we partnered with that provides these kits, and they provide a real simple way. You buy the kit, you basically replace the panel, and you've got a plug that you can plug right in, and everything will work. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is you can kind of go in and take out the old. So if you look at step one here, we're pulling out the old card reader. We're putting in the new card readers, and we're mounting them into the device itself. It's got the same kind of backing plate configuration as the old card reader, so it goes in that same little square hole and fits right in there. Then the other thing that you do is you for the spaces for things like where you had the keypad before, you just put a blank in there and you cover it up. So it looks like there was nothing ever there. So you just replace that. And then you put the device into the pump, you connect the power, you connect the printer, and then right away, the device will start working. It'll download all its information that it needs to, and it'll download all the configuration information that it needs for the payment processor and everything that it needs to start working. And then you can do things like, here's an example of a QR code where you can get digital receipts if you want. So then it's ready to start working. So then here's kind of some before and after pictures of different pumps that we've done. I'm just going to kind of pass right through these pretty quickly, but you can see on the left how it looked, and then you see on the right how it looks after we've upgraded it. It's the same type of configuration. It looks the same, it acts the same. If you're already doing advertising or something like that with an existing screen, you can still do that. So there's one example. Here's another example of a pump that we've upgraded. You've got the before and after. Once again, you see there's not a whole lot of change there. We've really simplified where the payments were done, the payment screen, the keypad and all that kind of stuff. If you look on the right one, you see there's just our device that sits there and everything else has been blanked out. And then here's another example of a before and after. Same idea here is we're not really changing the pump, and we're working with your existing pump. And so it's stuff that you're familiar with and your customers are familiar with already. And these are some examples of some of the finished pumps that we've done, just to give you a broader range of some of all the different pumps from Wayne and Gabarco, different pumps, the major pump manufacturers that we can work with and upgrade. So now I'm going to give you a quick video here of doing an installation and testing the installation. So there's one of our sales installer reps there, Corey, and he's going to kind of walk you through testing this pump that he upgraded. So looks like that stopped for some reason. So, but if it were to continue, you'd see that it would have finished pumping out, and he would have put it in and printed out the receipt. So let's go ahead, and now we've got an example of an installation that he did, and he'll walk you through it.
Hello everyone, I'm here at Pump and Munch in Pampa, Texas, doing an EMV upgrade with the Sound Payments EMV Easy Pump. And so I figured I'd just give you a look in from the inside pump of what the install looks like. I will be installing on these nice little Bennett pumps here. Just takes a few minutes to go through the full installation, top to bottom. All the card readers came out pre-configured, so let's get started. Okay, you are now inside the pump. So step one in this process, we're going to remove the old card reader and the old pin pad. Card reader now removed. The cabling has been removed to both those items as well. Alright, now that all that is removed, all cabling is in its original position. We have pre-cut, pre-configured applications to go into the spots of the old. So we'll start with the card reader. It is just a blank template just to fill in the space of where the old card reader was at. Very easy installation. We'll just stick it in place, use the old bracket, or use the old nuts that were on there. All right, next we will mount back in the mounting bracket for the IM20, the EMV Easy Pump, and this will also go in the place of where the original pin pad was at. Once again, we will go back in with the original nuts that were on here. And now we send out the IM20 pre-configured to your site. Already has the Wi-Fi information on there, so no configuration needed at that site. And then a mounting bracket for the back of it. So let's get these mounted on. Power cable. As you can see, the IM20 is now mounted on here. Plug it in. Close up my pump. And there you have it. Mounted, installed IM20 with the EMV Easy Pump. Next, power on the pump. All right, now that we're done with our installation, let's go ahead and try running the transaction. Transaction starting up the pump. Go ahead and lift my handle here. Stick it in the tank. Push the start button. And off to fueling we go. And as you can see here, you can go ahead and scan for digital receipt at any point during the transaction. So once the transaction is complete, you can go to the link provided there, and it will show you your digital receipt. Otherwise, I will go ahead and hang this pump up. Moment, and my receipt is printing. Thank you very much.
Well, I wanted to thank everybody for attending this. Hopefully you learned something, that you have a number of different options on upgrading. And as I said, the April deadline's coming up pretty quick on us, and a lot of people are busy right now, that have waited to the last minute to upgrade. I think we give you a pretty cost-effective solution. It's easy to upgrade, and you can be done quickly. So as you're considering all your different options, I'd appreciate it if you consider Sound Payments and consider our option as one of them. And if you have any questions or anything like that, please contact us and let us know, and I will do whatever we can to answer your questions. So with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this thing. So like I said, thanks everyone for joining, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.